Hello, everybody. We are here for Judge It Episode 3 with some very interesting maps based on last week's themes of slow and ice. And we've got quite the party today. In call with me, we have Agix, who hasn't joined us before, Alex, who was part of Episode 1,
Hello.
Lexer and Mew, who have been here every week so far,
Woo!
and my personal friend SkarMatrix, who is the newest player currently joining us and is going to add some interesting perspective to both the difficulty level and enjoyment of the maps.
I am good and bad at this game.
And we're going to force skip because this isn't the right map. It loaded them in reverse order. Woohoo!
Bad hose.
Bad
It always
hose.
starts with the second map,
Ah,
unless you force it.
Some world record pays.
okay. So,
Why can
Any paces, world record pace.
I want you guys to take a quick look at the medal times so that you are aware of what we're in for.
Oh no.
Oh my.
This
That
map
is slow.
is not hard by any extent of the word. However, since Lexer, you went and said, do a slow map, which is not something I'm particularly good at doing, nor do I find most of them too fun. I started building this with slow in mind, and then, since I kind of started with the deco, what came to mind was one of my favorite games from my childhood was ATV Off-Road Fury 4, and I kind of twisted slow into more or less a rally map from one of those games was what I came up with. So slow is a little bit of a hot take. It's definitely not as slow as what you were originally implying. But I like the feeling of trying a different style of map. Also, Agix, I'm really annoyed that you're doing that with as much speed as you are, because I tried like 12 ways to stop you from doing that.
He's going
It's
slower
alright, we're
though.
catching him.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Dang it.
That makes me happy.
I was considering doing that.
Oh, I considered it alright.
Wait, it was over 90 take the bridge or under 90 take the bridge?
Yeah, I was worried about that.
Huh.
Under 90 takes the bridge.
Okay. Well, I can read it. It was more of a wait. What did I read? Brain's not working.
I couldn't
Yep.
figure out a good way to state
Oh,
under.
this is
Also,
slow.
this is the slowest I've ever gone up here by a massive margin.
So I will say there's a couple things that are good and bad right away. Um, the good is it actually feels pretty nice. And it looks really cool. But the big negative is, or two big negatives is some of those like little jumps seem to be a bit blind. Although they are marked of where to go, like you don't realize that it may be a jump until you're at it. And also the length of the map.
So the length, honestly, is a huge part of this one. I very much am going to be hearing a lot of it's too long. I'm not surprised on that. What I want you to really focus on for this one, as far as just concept, I wanted to do something very different. And in that regards, the time, like, is going to feel a bit weird. More so for the more experienced players, certainly. But what I really want to, like, have thought about is, in the end, whether or not this winds up being fun despite the length. Also, all commentary is welcome. If you still hate it at the end, by all means, let me know. It's just an attempt at something new. I will say, for me, I rather enjoy the slower pace where it's very easy to finish, but very hard to optimize. That 52 is actually incredibly fast. That's the fastest time currently seen.
She flew past both of us on our 19 speed top of the hill.
Yeah. I know from testing that 40 is possible at the top of the hill, but I really would not encourage you to try for it because there's a lot of other stuff to slow you down. Nice.
I could be wrong. I'm I'm coming into the finish, so we'll see what my time's actually like. I think it kind of messed up the end, though.
Okay. You just blew what I expected to be possible out of the water.
This track doesn't feel like it's 3 minutes long.
I know.
It doesn't. The beginning feels longer than the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of doing nothing at the beginning, I feel like.
I tried to make the beginning a lot of optimization. I can't do nothing at the beginning, so there's definitely something to be said for just your practice making it that you can just turn precisely to an angle and then stay there. I'm not getting that very effectively.
I
Same
would
with her.
say that before the last checkpoint, I'm landing like Alex just did. I'm landing on the upslope. Maybe it's just because I'm not fast enough.
I could have done the flat if I did held arms up the entire time. It's doable.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No, we haven't even gotten anywhere close to landing on the uphill there. I just couldn't figure out a way to make it feel good without giving you a ton of speed or making the track stupid long.
You could have just made it a flat landing instead of an uphill landing.
Could I? I'm pretty sure you run into the ground if you do that. Maybe I could have made it later.
Mhm. Then the last checkpoint, it looks like you can just cut off into the grass, and
Oh,
because
that's a good
it's
point.
close to the end, the speed you lose might.
You certainly can try it. I kind of actually left that on purpose, again, because of the origin, the inspiration for this map being the off-road maps, or the off-road games. It is an option. It's not one that I've managed to do successfully, but I think it's possible.
Oh, I did it pretty easily.
What I'm more surprised by is how low we're getting in the times. That's honestly part of what I really wanted to see with doing this map, was just how much variation would there be in an actual long track.
Oh, it's usually a lot.
And this is kind of working as a perfect science experiment for me, because it's exactly like what it's designed to be. There's so much variation even amongst people who really know what they're doing, because it's new. I think long term these maps will get to be oh, everybody takes the same line, which most races, even in real life, do. But currently, it's like Mew has a 256 and Lexer has a 244. I don't
That could
think
be the
I've
difference
seen.
between a couple speed. That's not
Mhm.
even like taking like a different line. That's just like slightly clipping something, or like turning a little bit too hard, or that has a lot more to do with speed than anything.
Fair. But it is definitely holding up to what I expect to see. Now, my question is, my expectations are not, is this a fun style for the more experienced players? What are our thoughts on just, this is nothing like what you normally play in the game?
I still think it's too long, but that's a lot of that coming down to I usually play in shorter lobbies anyways. So like this map, you're gonna finish once or twice.
True, true.
I would agree. I'd say it's fun to play, and I do like slow style maps. In fact, one of my favorite ones for the showdown tracks is a slow style. But
Okay,
Oh, it's
it
clearly
is
number
too
5 then.
long.
The other thing is like with longer maps, you're usually not gonna be experimenting as much with like weird lines. Because like when you're 2 minutes into a map, do you really want to restart because you just like ever so slightly messed up a line?
That's honestly what I was trying to affect in this, was to see if I could get it so that you didn't care so much and weren't resetting just because you didn't get a perfect line.
100%.
That's kind of honestly what I was trying to drive, and that's why I called this a hot take when we were starting, because this is very much meant to poke at the experienced racers and say, hey, you're used to doing things one way. What if you didn't? Is it still a fun experience? And I definitely think there are several things I would have done slightly differently. Gotta say, it's a lot harder to do well than I thought it would be. Y'all are just clobbering anything I can even get close to. I'm shocked that we have a 243 in here.
It might become a 242.
or less.
As in like this current run. Or less is definitely possible.
So Ven, back to that question earlier. As someone who's actually played a fairly large amount of the Off-Road Fury games, how do you feel I did with capturing the essence? Is this fun in a similar vein to that?
It is. The only part I'm getting kind of agitated with is I'm not having enough speed to do the jump every single time I try.
So I have a sign there notable for 90. The reality is 87 can clear that jump with full arms up.
Can you point out Lexer's 40?
Yeah, right?
So to answer your question earlier, I think 38, maybe 37s.
Gotcha. Alright, you're probably losing a little bit of time arms upping that hill, actually.
I just now tried that.
Yeah, you have enough speed on this one. You're gonna full arms up, like the entire way. Technically, you can let go for a moment midair. There you go. Yeah, the sign says 90 because the 87 starts, depending on your angles and stuff, a lot. I'm noticing that there seems to be some variation in going up that hill. As like, you didn't do anything different than what I just did, and you're 12 speeds slower. So
Yeah.
there's some kind of piece of info I don't fully understand about that.
If he was arms upping the hill, he'll be going slower.
I wasn't.
Okay.
This is probably going to be the most majorly intense question because I expect to get some varying answers with the group of time we have here. This map I purposely made stupid easy. I wanted there to be no question that a new player can finish this map because it's the first map of its type that I've ever done and it's something that's not regularly done. From the more experienced players, but also especially from you, Ven, is it too easy? Would it be more fun at the same length if it was more challenging?
No.
No,
No.
it's a good
Yeah,
difficulty
it's
for the length.
yep.
Okay. I'm surprised by the unanimity, but not unhappy to hear it. Now, as far as the actual driving goes, because aside from the length, there is a lot of other features. You guys have commented on a few things that I wasn't aware of. What are we thinking are the strongest pieces and the weakest pieces on this map? If we want to just go from the top down, agix starting, like, what are your favorite parts or parts that you think I did really well, and what do you think I really blew it on? I'm also going to spectate you so that I can see what you're pointing out.
Well, okay, yeah. This first turn I do like, or this first convex piece, and then like this first section, I think the jumps are pretty tuned well if you take them right, that you can get nice smooth landings. And then there are some other jumps that are tuned pretty well.
Please tell me the river jump feels well for people that are faster at the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it feels well. You'd only have to arms up a teeny bit if you're going fast enough, but
Yeah.
How fast are y'all going at the top? My cap has been a 101.
104.
I'm getting like
105.
high, not quite 110, but close.
Wow.
Um,
So that's telling me
but
there's a lot of optimization on the first half that I just am unaware of.
but that being said, in order to get that speed, I have to wall ride this whole turn, and I think that's a lot of time without an input, so I don't like that.
I honestly intended for the wall ride to be so long that it was a bait and was suboptimal, so that's
I'm not
impressive.
doing the wall ride,
Okay.
so
So
I
maybe
question if
neither.
that's faster or not.
So maybe the wall ride is. I guess Lexer will have to tell us.
I'm not doing it.
I was +2 speed, but plus 0.2 in time, so it felt worth it to me. By the time I got to the top of the hill, that was my split.
Alright, so maybe I'll try without the wall ride on another run. Parts I don't like I said, that long wall ride, but if it's not a wall ride, then never mind. And then my least favorite part is this diamond back and forth
Yes.
part. I think the first 3 are fine, but then the 4th one is too much.
Gotcha. I actually have a question for that. How with this was here because the upper route was just going way too fast, and I hate using slowsters. Would you rather have seen a slowster to bring you down to the speed to manage the rest of the track, or is there some other tech for bringing the speed that you get from a hill back down? Because aside from turning, I have had a majorly difficult time trying to keep people slow on my maps.
I don't think there would be a problem with being a little faster,
I
particularly
think
because
the end would be even better if you were slightly faster.
I'm just barely missing this, hitting the top of this jump with my turning, and a little more speed would make it easier to make the top of that jump.
Gotcha. Alex, what about you? What are some of your thoughts on this map?
So I agree with the diamond part for not being great, but I also really like the incorporation of that slow section. I like it when you can like see significant time differences just based off of your speed. And I'm actually gonna show. I'm trying to get to a specific part so I can show you. There's like a little like kind of like Icarus drop at the beginning
Yes.
that I absolutely love. It took me a while to find it. I'm going slow right now, but um, that thing.
Okay. I was hypothesizing that being possible. I haven't even been able to come close to actually doing it, but I'm glad to see that that is actually there.
I really like that line. It it just there's something about it. It just feels good. But yeah. Other than that, the only other thing that I'm not a giant fan of is that giant right hand turn. It's just too long.
Around the lake. What could I have done
Yeah.
to make that more interesting?
Make it maybe tighter, if possible. It's a difficult one though, because the bigger issue is just the time that you're going around it. So if you were able to like just somehow shorten it up, so that could be with more speed or just making it a tighter turn, I think that'd make it a little bit better.
What speed are you going for at that first checkpoint? I see you resetting that
That
frequently.
was like 119. I want to get 120, but
Gotcha. Okay. Lexer, you have any varying input?
Least favorite part, I agree about the long turn around the lake. It just feels too long. I think I personally don't have a huge problem with this being such a long track because I kind of like the longer tracks. But I think if you check out that lake turn, that saves like 20 seconds where you're just doing nothing.
Fair enough. I will say I made a mistake with the bridges. I wanted the bridges to be more of a you want to take this only on a really good run, like a risk it. Also, you did not. Oh my gosh. Okay, well the grass is definitely faster.
I took the grass.
At
Lexer
the end?
just took the grass at the
Oh
end
yes,
and did 238.
Wait, that's what I'm sure Agix and I did
Wow.
also.
My favorite part of the track, probably the first 2 to 3 checkpoints here.
So it sounds like pretty universally, right before the giant turn, I just kind of nailed it, and then that big turn really just messed things up.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's ironically after all your issues last week, this is a really good speed conservation map.
Yes.
I was
Um,
also partially aiming for that. As I said, the point of these videos is kind of to learn, so I was trying very hard to incorporate some of what I learned last week. So, good.
Yeah,
Glad to hear it.
that's really good because this is a map where definitely you get that +1 speed and you just see the times way improving,
Mew,
which is pretty fun.
what are your thoughts? Especially on the decoration. You know I go for a simple style, but
Yeah, I like the way it feels like an expanse that we're driving around. The decoration is sparse, but that makes it not cluttered. It could, I think, have a little bit more, and that could really enhance it a bit, but I don't think it's
something
bad
funny
for
I
being
just
the way it
noticed
is.
while I was spectating Lexer is I accidentally got a tree in my train track, and the train is just kind of sitting
I noticed
derailed
that
over
too.
there.
Yep, right
There's
at
a
the
train.
station.
There is a train. Um, it's just there for
I
decoration.
feel like
It was more or less slapped in at the end to give some feeling of world to the world.
that if you did really want to have the train in there, it could have been more of a feature piece as opposed to it's something you barely see at the end a little bit.
If I had designed the track more with that in mind, it would have been. It was kind of a last addition because the world was feeling
Mm,
too empty, and quite frankly, I was running out of time. I built the second map with 1 day, but more reality-wise, like 4 hours left, because I spent so long trying to get this track to feel the way that I wanted it to feel, and also look decent.
something to be mindful about with trains is that they do tend to add lag for a lot of people and the noise.
Good to know. I was very unaware of that.
I want to say my least favorite part is the second gap here. I don't like that you can't see the landing, so you don't know how far the gap is until you're in the air. And if you take it uh, too early, you just don't have the speed to clear it, and it's hard to really judge where exactly the speed is for the amount of gap when you can't see where the landing is.
And Ven, you are very new to this game compared to the rest of us. What are your inputs, good and bad, on it?
I agree with the around the lake being too long, and then I like the first section a lot. That's good. The uphill part where you jump across the big gap, it feels weird to me because you get slowed down to like 20 or whatever you guys are getting that at.
I
Just
think
feels
most of
really
us are
slow.
40. I actually kind of agree with that. As you have way less time, something I really want to question, aside from that one jump which I tried to mitigate with the flags at the start, how much of this track made you question what you're supposed to do, and how much of it felt like, oh yeah, it's just a drive?
Um, I felt like I knew what I was doing.
Inside the cave at the top of the mountain,
I swear,
there
you tell me.
is
Yeah,
you
I
can
suspected that.
you can wheel hook that whole turn
Oh,
if you get it.
jeez.
Can you actually?
I did half the bottom half of
Potentially.
it, but I think you can do the top half too.
I know you can
There's a
do the
rock
bottom
that would
half.
knock you out
I
here, yeah.
I didn't find it to be any better on the bottom half, but I tried damn hard to make sure that it wasn't a primary feature on the start.
So I did it on the bottom half for my time now, and
Hmm.
I think it's useful. Also, I can confirm that taking that outer wall right, that big outer wall right, is not faster.
Okay. I do have a question. Something very difficult while I was making this map. Every time I would save it, go away, come back, and reload it, pieces of the map were missing. They were just deleted randomly.
Yep, that's the undo. If you undo and then save, the piece will not have been undone. It'll be where it was when you did the undo. So a way to resolve that is to press O and select everything and then just move it up and then back down. or something like that, just to give everything a manual input that's not an undo as their last input, then everything should stay where it's at.
Interesting. Does that also affect color?
Probably, since it's
Probably.
just an undo.
If you remember on last week's map,
Yeah, the
the
red
red
food train.
section, I'm betting
That
that's
would
what
do it.
happened there. Because I was very sure that I had saved after having done that. That is possibly the most powerful piece of advice anyone's given me yet. Y'all ready for a nightmare?
Yes.
Yay!
Anybody on a good run?
Decent run, Ben, at the beginning, so don't worry about it.
No.
Alright. Skipping. Is there any randos in here? No, just my wife.
Well, it's just my wife, you know.
So for your information, I had 55 speed at the top of the hill on that run.
Jeez.
Wow.
I didn't pay
Okay.
attention to mine.
This is new
think-
ice. This was done. The author time was done without using the off-road tires, just for the record. And oh, buddy, let me tell you, it was a lot harder when I first made it. Also, I'm preemptively going to say the Ronin lines are there for reference, spatial awareness. If they're not optimal, well, too bad. I needed something that I could see.
You mean these red dots?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just give you an understanding of the curvature, and I think all funnels should have those. Any funnel that doesn't is missing something.
Lex are skipping the off-road wheels, which I find kind of surprising.
Yes, that is an option. Like I said, the actual author time was done without using the off-road wheels. In my opinion, it's way harder. But if you like a
Oh, yeah.
challenge and you like ice, then
Ice with off-road wheels is about the only way I can kind of enjoy it, typically.
I spent about 2 hours. The section you both are going into right now originally had a T connector from the two different paths, and getting into it was hypothetically possible at those speeds, but was so annoying that I spent most of the time that I spent making this track trying to figure out how not to make that pure suffering. So Lexer, sorry for getting in your face right there. I'm not used to freaking out
I
very
didn't
much
see
here.
anything.
Oh, good. Well, good to see Alex's first run beating my author time. Love it, love it. I mean, I didn't grind that long for it, but still.
The one weird thing is going from the ice to the snow. It like kind of kicks you
Yeah, on the bottom section.
out. Both that and also the very first thing, where it's like if you're ever so slightly off, and it's more of a skill issue on my end because I'm not super used to playing this style of a track. But yes, also leaving the funnel is weird.
I fully agree. I kind of liked the weirdness, especially on the first part. It very much benefits if you just line yourself up beforehand and then don't touch it. Which, honestly, I've found is really freaking hard to do once you start playing a lot more maps. Just leaving your control alone is one of the hardest things for me to do, especially on an ice map at this point. I think my biggest difficulty with it is that my brain doesn't fully register, hey, you can't turn. Especially on that first ice is tier 3. So it's a little extra slippery.
So I will also say I typically hate funnels, but you did a good job with this.
Yeah.
Thank you. How do we like the shadows for frame of reference?
They're cool.
I haven't noticed, so I would say that's a good thing.
Do you still have shadows off from last week, Lexer?
No, I have him back on.
Okay. The very first drop into those funnels has some cones that I put the artificial light sticking in to give you something that wasn't like glaring in your way to still kind of say, hey, this is where you are relative to your prior positions. So without them, at least on my graphics, the snow was like you could not spatially differentiate the snow at all. It was just solid one
Interesting,
color.
yeah.
I didn't realize that that was a thing until you mentioned it, but I do like that you did that now that I know. If you could somehow indicate that without telling us, though, I don't know how that would be.
Fair. Then,
Yeah, I'm struggling here.
how's it go? I don't think, aside from the first time we've played, that we've really played any ice maps with you, have we?
Not really.
Okay. You're gonna want to go high on that a little bit sooner so that you come out somewhat straighter from the tube that you just missed.
That's where I keep messing up because then
Yeah. You should have seen before it switched to being elbows. When it was still a T, it was nigh impossible. I almost left it so that the experienced players could show me how it's done because I know it's feasible the way I originally had it. But then a little voice in the back of my head said that one of the things that I'm always critiquing maps for is when it's just completely not fun and there's no chance that a new player is going to do it. I'm very much of the opinion that only genuine challenge maps should fall into the category of you have to have hundreds or thousands of hours in the game in order to be able to complete it. And so I changed it. Yeah, you've got to finish here.
By the way, I just got 195 at checkpoint 2.
I'm noticing that the concentration is a lot harder on this map. We're kind of a quieter group on this one.
Leaving
It's more
after
engaged.
yeah, leaving after I think checkpoint 2, like the second like ice part is really difficult to line up. So like I know I can get like a probably a 43 on this map.
Mew, when you're done with
Yeah,
that run, come spectate me real quick. I need to share my pain with you because you just told me
yeah.
what causes this, and oh, it's making me so mad. I've also just noticed that the right side path is completely messed up. The triangle is lowered into the floor.
Oh, that's what that is. That I thought that was intentional. Okay,
No,
that's an error.
I'm so mad. I just got the fastest run I've ever had on this map and couldn't handle the speed.
Yep. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I've had like low 44 runs. I've messed them up at the end.
I see that whether it's just traditional feeling good or what, we're enjoying this map a fair bit more. I'm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
entertained by the level of just quiet concentration.
It's
Personally, I like the other map better, but this one definitely requires more concentration.
I have a question about this map.
By all means.
Why are there so many icicles underneath this ramp?
Decoration, because I had half an hour to decorate the map. And I was
It
like,
feels like an excessive amount
yeah,
for the amount that you can see that area when you're driving. It feels a bit excessive.
my mind literally just said the snow is melting. Snow melting in winter at cold temperatures makes icicles.
Ah,
Make the bottom of it icicles. That was the extent of my thought process. I fully admit I was a bit lazy on the decoration with this one. The snowflakes I felt like were pretty fun. I like the snowflakes blowing, and I
yeah, I like those.
doubt anyone would notice without actually going to look. But Mew, you should come take a look at the snowball fight.
I did. It's fun.
Notice the paragliders also towards the end.
Mm-hmm. You got little
Yeah.
people racing
He's
around.
bailing out.
I like that the snowflakes are different colors.
Oh yeah.
It's a good touch.
I honestly forgot that I made them different colors. Even just looking at them right now, my brain was just like, oh yeah, the light's shining off them different
It's just
ways.
so natural,
It
right?
really is. Accidental success right there.
Purposeful. Totally purposeful.
Oh yeah. Well, Mew, since you're already pointing some stuff out, let's start with you. What do you like? What do you hate? The triangle out of the road not included because that was someone else's fault.
I am so glad that you put indicators inside the bottoms of the funnels to just show what direction you're gonna be going when you're coming out the bottom of it, because people never do that in funnels, and it is so crucial as far as information goes. And it's part of what makes funnels so irritating. Funnels are just so irritating because they're frustrating to navigate. But just having those dots as an indicator, just something, helps it just a ton.
I fully agree.
I'm gonna jump in on that. There's a lot of us who don't like Ronin lines, and I think you did it right because it is definitely significantly far off from the line you want to take. But like,
Mhm.
it's enough to know what's happening.
It is merely a point of reference. They are not Ronin dots. They're just an indicator to say the track is going with this curvature. That's all it
Okay.
is.
I was a little afraid, Alex, that when I added those, I was gonna hear otherwise, but I could not think of a different way of doing it, so I'm glad to hear that.
There are some
I
maps like this one that have done them well.
Agix, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts as far as I've not played with you enough to know what you actually do and don't appreciate about maps, so give me some critique on this.
I'll start with the thing I don't like the most about this map, which is the exit of the funnel on right before checkpoint 2.
Gotcha.
There's just too much airtime and it's not enough of a slope to really get smooth. You can definitely ride the wall of the tube to get it a little smoother, but it's not completely smooth still. Except for I just saw Lexer do it really well.
Yeah,
It's
I
possible to do pretty smooth, but I reset a lot there.
I will say this is a place where I just assumed my lack of experience was the problem because I felt like you could get a really nice landing and I just can't. So I was waiting to see what better players can do with it. That triangle
I
is
feel like you can
irritating
get
me
it
so
really
much.
smooth.
Scar, what are your thoughts on this? You do actually have a time on the board, and it's actually not a half bad time compared to what I was getting creating it, so
I like this map. I'm trying to figure out how to get better, and I'm not doing a very good job of it.
I do think I accidentally made a little bit of a speed conservation ice map, because what I've been noticing on my personal runs is if I'm not hitting at the least 180 at checkpoint 2, then it's just done.
The first half could be speed conservation, but the second half isn't because you're hitting over 200.
Fair. Well, of the two maps today, Agix, you said you liked the first one a little better now that we've been playing for a while. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I still like that one better.
Cool. And the rest of you?
I prefer this one.
It's a
Same
hard
here.
call for me.
yeah, I like this one better.
It's very close for me. I will say I very much like the CP2 to 3 on this map. I think that's a good ice section.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's funny because at first I hated it, but I'm starting to like it more now. And I've noticed that with a lot of
It's
maps.
one of
Is
those
Oh
that
dear.
you kind of have to learn the oscillation.
I think that any good ice map, that's going to be the case. But I will also note that ice maps are kind of like flying maps, just they've been here longer. A lot of people really don't like them.
it's the off-road wheels that save this, in my opinion.
I'm glad I put them there. Lexer and Mew, you've been here every week so far. How do we feel I'm doing improvement-wise? The two maps today, they are wildly different from anything that I've made so far. The first map I definitely think is more obvious on how I was able to incorporate stuff, but do we feel like this is an upgrade from last week?
Yeah, I feel like your understanding of mapping is becoming more well-rounded. You're paying attention to things that you weren't before.
Nice time, Lexer.
Thanks.
Wow.
I like seeing how competitive my maps are. I feel like a good sign of how well I'm doing on the map creation is whether people are competing on them or not. That's something I noticed a lot in week 1 on That's Not the Road. It's just like there was a definite instantaneous as soon as you actually Alex, you were here for that as well. All three of you, as soon as you got the gimmick of the map, you started really being like, okay, now that I know what I'm doing, I want to see how far I can push this. And I'm really thinking that's the difference for me, at least with my style of map creation, between whether or not it's a good map, is whether or not people playing it want to see how far they can take it.
Yep. Optimization is a huge factor in what makes a map replayable. And that's part of what makes a map good.
That's maybe part of why I'm a little torn on this map, because I feel like this is very hard to optimize. Like the last map, even though it was almost 3 minutes long, I felt like I knew what to do to get better at it. This map, I'm just kind of keep resetting until I get a good run.
I would agree with that. That's why I like the other one better.
Well, once again, we have two new people, so we're going to do something a little different for next week. I've got a much busier schedule, and Lex and I were kind of talking about this, where these maps take a while. Setting half an hour of the lobby to talk about, and then still getting down to the last minutes is a bit much. So we're going to try going down to one map, but I still want to ask for two ideas. I'm just going to be combining them. That being said, Scar, I want you to give
Yep.
me my first idea. It can be something you think I can do, can't do well, vague, one word or a full-on sentence. What is the first aspect of the map that I'm going to be building next week?
High speed with precision, either jumps or tubes or something.
Ooh. Talking my language now.
Okay, Agix,
That's not
you're
my
gonna have a hard
language.
time fixing that one. So, you're getting the second choice. With a high-speed precision map, what is the other aspect that I will do?
Low speed with no jumps.
I was gonna I actually was gonna say no jumps. Try to do it with no
No jumps.
breaks in the track.
Okay.
High speed precision with no air.
High-speed
speed.
precision, seamless.
Yep.
I
It's
have a
gonna be
few
interesting.
ideas. I feel like
I'm
I'm going to wind up with a bit of a Cosmo map next week. Well, thank you everyone for being here, and yeah, that's a wrap.